wow, things happening. Before I start, I want to share a quick story with you. Last night, I decided to go see a movie. I live just up at Westwood Lake area, and I was going to Landmark Cinemas. So I took the highway. I was on the motorcycle. It was about 7 o'clock, and I just turned off of Mostar onto the highway and getting up to a good speed, and I had the front of my helmet up, so the face shield was up, and this looked like a big black hornet hit me right sort of between the helmet and my head, and it felt like it was crawling, and I'm thinking, I'm going to get stung. So I go to flip it off with my thumb, and I flip my glasses right off, and they hit the ground. Now, there's nobody behind me at this point, but I'm probably doing, 50 miles an hour for those in America and 80 kilometers up here in Canada. And so I pull over right away, and there's still no cars coming. I pull a U-E, and I start heading back to where I can see the glasses, and I put the kickstand down. And as soon as I do that, around the corner, the light had turned green, and so the next wave of traffic is coming. And my glasses are in the second lane and by the middle of the highway. They're there, and there's no way I can run out to get the glasses. So I stood there and just was like, okay. I wish I'd have thought about grabbing my camera and videoed it, but I didn't. Anyhow, I'm watching, and the first vehicle coming along in the outside lane is an ambulance. And the glasses are just sitting there, and I'm thinking, they're done. Nope. They happen to be enough in the middle of the road. The ambulance goes over top of it, and the glasses follow along in the breeze behind it and get pushed a little more towards the center of the two lanes. And then there's about 20 cars between the two lanes that zipped by my glasses as I stood and watched in wonder. Are they hooped? Are they done? And they blew from both sides of the road back and forth, and no car ran over them directly. And they all passed, and I was like, wow, that's amazing. I ran out. Now, they were very scratched, so these are my backup glasses because those glasses are no longer, but the frames are in perfect condition. Now, there's no spiritual story to this. It's just funny to me that I got to stand there, and literally it was like, if I could make a movie about this would be perfect, to watch the glasses move back and forth, be moved by the wind of the cars, and they just kind of blew around, and no bad came from it. Anyhow, that's the talk today. So, whatever you want to make that mean for your life, please use it. But no, I would like to begin today by inviting everybody to picture in their minds the following. Okay, so just imagine that you are a 12-year-old. Okay, boy or girl, doesn't matter. Just imagine that you are 12 years old and you live in a very tiny aluminum-walled shack. There's dirt roads everywhere, small, cramped homes, a future by all appearances that looks already mapped out for you. Everyone in your past that you know of has followed the same path. There's not much beyond what you see directly in front of you. Now imagine that you're black, you're in Kenya, and this is what life looks like forever for you, because that's been the way it is for everybody that's come before you. But one day you come across a VHS tape in a little corner store on a little black and white TV and an old VHS machine, and you plug the tape in. And a title comes up, and it's called Purpose by Design. It's a little VHS recording of a speaker that delivers this message of purpose by design. and you're inspired by it. So you play it again and again and again, and with every viewing, a new imagination for your life comes into being. A vision for what life might look like, what it could possibly look like, versus the life that you've known and seen for everybody else. So you begin to start saving every penny that you get, working whatever you can to save money, because you have a new dream for yourself. You have a vision that you are going to save up the money to go to America and have a new life. Completely different than anybody in your family before you, completely different than what anybody would have thought was possible for you. So by the age of 18, you've saved up enough money for that trip to America. You have $200 in your pocket, and off you go. A heart full of purpose and a future that looks nothing like the history of your family or your community. I had the great pleasure of meeting that person. His name is Phinehas Kinuthia, and he grew up to the age of 18 in Kenya and decided that he wanted a different life. Moved to America, is an author, has written a couple of books. He's a minister, he's a business coach, lives in Los Angeles area. He was on my podcast a couple of times. And the reason I share this story is because there's a lot of times that I can stand up here and say things like anything we want for ourselves and for our lives is possible. And, we just have to have the will to do it, and we just have to hold a vision. And that's really great coming from somebody who was born in Canada, who had great parents and had everything laid out for them for education and every want and desire pretty much able to do. But how does that work for somebody who's not born into that? This is always the question I had, was like, that's great for me to talk about and for us to stand here where we've been born and say, yeah, you could do anything with your life. And then I met Dr. Phinehas Kinuthia. He also has a doctorate. And I realized that, oh, wait a second. That's actually possible for anybody. He was my proof that it doesn't matter what your circumstances might be. It matters who you are and who you're choosing to be, and the willingness, this being a conversation about the power of will, to have a yes, the biggest yes in your life, to chase that and turn it into your future. So for me, that was a great sort of like, we all can do that. Of course, it trivialized for me my little challenges that I might face. But even in that, doesn't it seem like we all face what we're capable of managing? Thank you. I heard a yes. Anybody else? Yeah. There was one yes. I'm going with that one yes. But doesn't it seem like we fit exactly what we're capable of managing ourselves through? And so it doesn't make any sense to trivialize somebody else's experience, because it might just be all they can manage. And for them, it's hard. My hard life, what I see for myself as hard living is not going to be what perhaps Phinehas experienced. But for me, it's as tough, right? It's my own hurdle. It's your own hurdle to overcome. And this is where I take such refuge in the 12 powers that Unity teaches, this idea that we have something like will, the power of will to move. There's a great Bible scripture that, if you want to move the mountain, of course, I'm not doing it any justice right now, but if you want to move the mountain, you can move the mountain. Now, I used to think it was like, how could I levitate a mountain? right? Did anybody else go there? It's like, how did you move a mountain thinking I had to somehow levitate it and move it? But then as I got older, I realized that, wait a second, no, we could use like tractors and trucks and stuff to move the mountain. And haven't we actually seen that in the world where mountains have been moved? Literally, they have been moved. When I did my motorcycle trip to Missouri, has anybody here been on the $1 Million Highway in Colorado? I think it's called the $1 Million Highway because when they built it back in the 60s, I think it was, it cost $1 million, which back then was a lot of money. Today, what does $1 million sound like? Isn't that insane that we think $1 million is like, well, I might be able to get a house for that, right? Anyhow, it's called the $1 Million Highway. And so I rode this on my motorcycle, and I was completely blown away by the sheer will of man that we will put a highway on this mountain and drill holes or tunnels through whatever we need to do, even though there's nothing about this mountain that says you should have a highway on it. But that is literally what it is. It's an incredible feat of engineering to go up that and to experience it. And I am moved by this idea that we have the will within us. This power. It's not forcing things. It's not determining that I'm going to do whatever I want regardless of circumstance. That's not what it is. It's actually the spiritual will to raise ourselves up. To raise ourselves up to a different way of seeing. As Eric Butterworth would say, to see rightly. Right? To see what is possible when we tune in to our truth, the truth of who we are, and we manifest that. And it shows up in form in front of us. It actually becomes our reality. The most recent example I can give of this is that, as you all know, Tatum is going to university in America. She chose to change schools to go to Buffalo. And I had booked, we thought that she had to be there for the 22nd for orientation. And so Brooke, my other daughter, has her final movie presentation on the evening of the 19th in Vancouver. So it's like, okay, we'll be there for that. We'll fly out the 20th, go to Michigan where Tatum's stuff is, rent a truck, drive it on the 21st to Buffalo, help her move in, and on the 22nd, she can go to her orientation. Booked all the flights during Mercury retrograde. Just little side note there, where you're not supposed to book flights, apparently. I didn't know this. So we get an email that says, Tatum's international student orientation is on the 21st. And then she has an orientation on the 22nd as well, but for international students transferring in, it's the 21st. And I'm thinking, I have to be here. There's no way I can get from Michigan to Buffalo on the 21st. So trying to figure out all the different flights and not thinking that maybe we could make a request. But then suddenly it dawned on us that, you know what? Why don't we just let the school know? And let's just put it on them. Let's let them solve the problem instead of us trying to solve the problem with renegotiating flights and travel times, et cetera, because I am not leaving before the 19th. That's clear. I will be here for the showing of Brooke's film in Vancouver, and then we'll go the 20th. So we threw it back at the school, and you know what they did? They said, if we need to do a separate one-on-one orientation on the Friday, we'll do that. How about using a little bit of the faculty of will, having some faith that something different can come from this? Now, I know it's not the best story in the world, but it's the most recent one I've got, okay? So just embrace it. But it's, we could have just lived in the world of, we have to somehow live what other people want us to do. And I normally probably would have done that. And for some reason, we just decided, wait a second, we're paying the money here to go to school. Let's see what's possible. And voila, everything has now, we've been able to keep the flights the same. So this puts me back at the Mercury retrograde thing because, my understanding is you shouldn't book flights because challenges can come up, plans can change, all of those things. And so I'm kind of I don't know if that's true. Sure, they tried to throw me a curveball, but we use some faculties within ourselves to sort of shift how other people might see the world. So I'm in question about whether I need to worry about booking travel time. I shouldn't invite that into my life, should I? Testing. Let's test the world. Let's test astronomy out there and see what might happen. So, I'm way off anything here that I have. What does it matter? Let's talk about the inner economy and the law of creation. So if we look at this idea of will and creating yeses in our life, I can't help but constantly deliver this idea to people that life is not out there. It's not happening out there. It's all happening inside of us. Everything we perceive is of our own design. We can tell ourselves any story we want about our life, about our experience, about what something means, right? It's all, even the 12 powers, it's all made up. Somebody made all of this stuff up, right? Am I right? It's just made up. We just have these ideas, we could call them divine ideas, and live our life in a way that has us feel and have an experience that is loving and compassionate and joyful, and I'm all for that. And so whatever tools we can use to accomplish that, let's bring them in, right? Let's bring them into our awareness so we can live that life. But again, last night on the motorcycle, I'm riding home. Did anybody see the moon last night? Oh, wasn't that fantastic? Right. So I'm riding home and I'm thinking about me on a motorcycle riding around, and I had the experience with the glasses earlier, and I'm looking at the moon and I started to laugh at the ridiculousness of my experience of life. Does anybody ever have that where you're just really? This is how did this happen that I'm here on this planet? The moon is out there, and I'm on a motorcycle, whatever. I mean, it could be anything. It could be a horse and buggy for all that matters. But cruising around in this experience, and I found myself laughing at how almost insane it seemed to be alive. I'm not the only one that does that, right? Okay. Yeah, we all have that experience where we're just going, this is nuts. Right? But in that craziness, in that nuts, I do believe, I feel deeply that we can design our lives. That we can have that, aim, that North Star of joy, of love, of unity, of oneness, right? Where we're all in this together. And I know when I pause and take a look around, I can see so much separation in the world. It's really easy to go find that, isn't it? It seems like the world wants to scream at the top of its lungs about that. But I can also see unity. I can also see oneness. I can also see a desire for many people to share in community and to share in love and to share in joy. And if there's anything you can take away from today, it's that we need to have the willingness the will within each one of us to hold that vision regardless of what the outside circumstances might look like. Phinehas did not let his outside circumstances determine how he was going to live his life. And it could have been that way very easily. No right or wrong, no good or bad. It just would have been really simple to go, oh, this is the dream of the planet for me, and I'll just live into that because everybody else did before me. But we can do something different. We can be something different. Even right now, whatever you're seeing in your life, it can be different than you currently experience it. It's just choosing. I think, didn't you sing a song, I Choose Love? See? See, Josh was we just need to listen to Josh, what he sings. I choose love, right? It's all choosing. That's the power of will. The power of will says, I choose. Before you can have love in your life, you need to choose it. It doesn't just show up. You need to choose it. Ever notice that if you ever want something, you kind of got to give it away? Right? In order to get something, you kind of got to have it to give it away. Right? That's what love looks like. It's not show me the love first and then I'll do it. It's actually leading with it. So with that in mind,